Wish you were one of those influencers with raving fans who binge on your every word, consume all your content, buy everything you have to sell, and demand even more? Then stay tuned while Authority Magazine columnist and BuzzFeed contributor Tracy Hazzard shares strategies, tips, and tactics from top videocasters, podcasters, authors, and social influencers on creating that bingeable factor. Now, let's join Tracy as she explores how to rise above all the digital noise with the Binge Factor.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Binge Factor. I'm Tracy Hazzard, and I've got another podcaster for you. I've got this one coming from around the world. We're now going international with our podcast interviews, and I just love that. So I'm so excited to bring to you Marketing the Invisible. The host of Marketing the Invisible, Tom Poland. Tom is a multiple best-selling author. I've got one of his books right here, Inbound Marketing Book. We'll have to talk about that on the show as well. He works with professionals and marketing with marketing services, advice, software. He has clients in 27 cities and 15 time zones. I think you're just as exhausted as I am. And he has personally started and sold multiple businesses, including having led teams of over 100 people and revenue in excess of 20 million. He's spoken on global speaking platforms alongside Brian Tracy, Marshall Goldsmith, Dr. Ivan Misner, Michael Port, and many others. And he describes himself as voluntarily married and lives on the white sands of Castaways Beach in Queensland, Australia. So thanks, Tom, for joining me. What time is it there?
You're very welcome. It's just gone 8 a.m. on Friday morning. This is why I'm into my second.
You're into your coffee. I'm post-lunch here, so we're doing well. Well, you have such an unusual formatted show that I want to do something different here. Normally we get into, who you are, why you started podcasting and all of that here, but we're going to jump straight in because your format is 7 questions in 7 minutes. And that's unusual. And I wanted to highlight that. So we're going to jump into my 5 things, my best ways, and we're going to jump right into that. And then we'll get back to talking about why you formatted your show this way. So we right here on the Binge Factor talk about the best ways, the lessons learned from podcasting on the best ways to do these 5 things. What are some of the best ways you found to book great guests?
Get referrals from other guests.
That's great.
That's the number one way. And I can also get referrals from other guests to other hosts. So one of the cunning little strategies that I have is that before I let my guests go, I say, hey, I'd love to do some cross referrals. You've probably been on other shows that were great, and you probably know other guests, and I know other hosts. Why don't we circle back in a week or 2 and explore that?
I love that. So you'll follow up later, which is great because it gives you a chance to have a more lengthy conversation.
But just a couple of things there. First of all, we book the time before they leave that call. So before they hang up the Zoom receiver, we book it in. So I have a URL, explorejv.com, and they can go there and I can do a screen share. But it's really critical to book that before they disappear, because otherwise it just falls between the cracks, and they're busy and we're busy and we don't do it. So it's booked in. Second reason for booking another time is that the second time you meet someone, they're suddenly a friend.
That's right.
There's just some powerful psychology about that. It's like, hey, Tom, how you doing, man? And the first time was, hello, Tom, And so that by having that second meeting, by being a little bit patient, the rapport levels are established at a very, very deep level. And it's so much easier. It's just bang, 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 bang. Whereas the first time, often they're just a little bit tense.
Yeah. Well, and now you're relationship building, which is such a key to growth in your business. So I love that.
And that's the beautiful thing about podcasts is your relationship building, but it's fun and it's interesting. And I say to all my clients, for God's sake, technically, sure, there's some hurdles for you, but this is just going to be something you'll love to do.
I'm so glad you said that because I agree. I was like, why would you want to market all the hard way? This is so much more fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, what are some of the best ways to increase listeners?
Well, one of the things we do is that when we book the guest, we ask them how they'll promote the show. And whether it's social media, whether it's an email list, and we don't say they have to do it any which way at all, but they make that commitment before when they're enthusiastic. And so when we send out the that we send an email out to say, hey, your appearances, being released, and we do social media assets and all that sort of stuff. We remind them, oh, by the way, you had mentioned you're going to promote it. So we drive the traffic back to our landing page with our featured, and then there's a pop-up window with a free giveaway. So that's how we increase subscribers from the show. In terms of how we, what was the question?
Increase listeners.
Listens. I have no idea. I just have. I don't know. That's a terrible answer, but I just, we get the show out there and people share it, and I don't know, because we might come back to this, but the reason I started podcasts was because I learned from smart people like you that one of the big things about podcasting is the building of the relationship with the guest.
Right. So it's not the primary goal. I love that.
We'll
talk about that a little later then. So how do you produce it in a professional way?
I get someone like you to do it.
There you go.
Most people who are like me, that enjoy having guests on the show and enjoying that repartee, like what we're doing right now and so on, are not great technically. The people person. I call them dogs and cats. So dogs love interviewing people. They love talking. They love sharing. They get excited, enthusiastic, run around barking with the tails wagging. Cats will sit back, and they're the detail and technical people. So I just say to every one of my clients who's going to run a podcast, for goodness sake, outsource the production, outsource the distribution, outsource the social media sharing assets, and find someone like monetize to do all that stuff for you. And I know I don't want this to
it's
sound
not
like
this is the thing. Like, I just want everybody to realize right here, like, I literally just met Tom as a client. Yeah. Like, I didn't know. I don't have an
affiliate connection or anything like that. I'm not getting kickback. I'm just saying this is reality. But do what you do what you were born to do, which is probably interviewing people and having fun and spreading the word, and leave the technical stuff to the cats, because dogs should not try and meow. It's
I love that. I was sort of sitting back and remembering that my daughter used to have this TV show where there was this cat dog or dog cat. I don't know. It was both at the same time. It was this cartoon when she was a teenager, and it's coming into my head is like, and I might be that one where I can flip back and forth and do one in each, but it's very rare and unusual, and people shouldn't do it. It is rare. Yeah.
It's about 1 in 50. I can tell you, I've been talking about cats and dogs for decades now, and I've written about the two different personality types. And in broad terms, it's very true. But about 1 in 50 are what I call a dog cat.
Yep.
And they make some of the best clients, and they make some of the best entrepreneurs, because they can see the big picture. They're a people person. They can relate to people, but they also are okay with the technical side. Very rare. So if you're one of the 49 out of the other 50, like me, for goodness sake, get politicized on your side, dictate all that nightmare out of you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, the next one is, do you encourage engagement in your community, and how do you do it?
Look, I absolutely totally suck at that, because it requires persistence and routine, and it requires responding to people. And so again, I just don't do it. But we do get it done, and people can contact us, and I'll always respond to every email. But I go and chase bigger shiny things, I suppose. So the whole community.
But you're encouraging the engagement back with the guests, so you're encouraging it on the relationship in the other way.
Well, we always give people a means to reach out if they want to do that. But as I said to you, the primary purpose of our podcast exercise is to establish that relationship with the guest who's a key influencer. And secondary, we want to give good quality content to our list, our email list, because that's really our goldmine. That's our most valuable asset. Our leadsology is our email subscriber list. And thirdly, and it's probably a distant third, is how many people download the thing, how many people listen, how many people share it, and so on. So the whole engagement thing is something I would love to do, but I got to find me a cat to do that, because I just know the thing about a dog trying to meow is that even if you do it, it's not going to sound good, and you won't keep doing it because it's not your inclination. So, but creating a community around it would be stupendous.
So I suspect on my fifth thing here, it's the best way to monetize. You're monetizing your show from that mining of your leadsology list, as you refer to it, and you're mining of your list, you're mining of the relationships with the influencers. So it's what I would call alternative monetization. But how is that working out for you?
Incredibly well. There's a very short line in my brain between action and result. I'm not good at going around corners and being circuitous. So the whole content marketing thing, I don't get it.
But you're doing it.
Well, I kind of am, I suppose. But,
the
more route is, so what we do with a guest is we run them through an algorithm before we get them onto the show. And I know this sounds a bit
See, that
like,
sounds very cat to me.
this is not something a dog does. So I didn't build the algorithm. I hired data scientists, 2 data scientists, and they worked on this for like 6 months.
Wow.
So, and it's pretty cool. So so I have a data miner in the Philippines who I pay, a modest, I think it's $7 an hour, plus she gets a monthly bonus of $25 for every interview that was conducted. But the interviewees have to get through the algorithm. And the algorithm tells me what sort of JV partner they're likely to turn out to be.
Interesting.
So the guests coming on the show, we already know they run webinars or they have a free giveaway that's quite valuable. We've checked the content out. We think it's pretty good quality. We've got a pretty good idea what their email list size is and how responsive it is because of our algorithm. So they come through the algorithm, they're identified by the data miner in the Philippines. I don't do any of this. They go through the algorithm, they pass the test. I give them a green light to our data miner in the Philippines, who then sends the invitations to the show. So the guests that are on the show, not all of them, because some of them are just fun to interview and they've got a great message, and that's exciting for me too. But most of the guests on the show have been carefully pre-selected and screened because we know they're going to make a great JV partner.
Wow. So there you go. There's that alternative monetization. See, out there, listeners to the Binge Factor, this is what we keep talking about, is there are so many different ways to look at the value in your podcast, to look at the value, what that adds to your business. And this is what's valuable to you. So let's talk about that. You are an inbound marketing. You are an expert in generating leads. You're an expert in mining those leads. How did you make this decision that you were going to start a podcast?
Accidentally. So what we did is we launched this massive online magazine. When you get the tablet and you flick through it and the pages rustle as you go through and they curl over and there's glossy photos and there's links everywhere. And I thought this will be a great lead generation. And incidentally, yes, I do specialize in inbound lead gen, but I have to tell you, 9 out of 10 things that I've tried have failed miserably, and this is one of them. So we put a lot of money, a lot of time, and I had a publisher and an editor, and we got contributors, marketing contributors, who again, my thing was, let's establish a relationship with people who are key influencers. Let's get them contributing to this online magazine. Let's make it amazing. We ran this thing for 6 months, and we had, we had lots of downloads and we had lots of subscribers. But in terms of a direct marketing mechanism, it was absolutely failed miserably. And man, getting people to submit articles is like herding cats, talking about cats. The deadline's coming up. We don't have your article. Yeah, I'll get it to you tomorrow, I promise. And they don't. So it was, putting a magazine together. I don't know if anyone else is listening. If you have done that, you'll know it's not easy.
I wrote a column for almost 5 years for Ink magazine, and and submitting 6 articles a month. They would be this nasty message at the end of every month. It'd be like, you all have a deadline and you're not meeting it. Like, there would be this, and then everybody would post on the last day of the month.
Right, and they get the frickin' magazine out and sigh and open up a bottle of wine and go, oh, thank God that issue's out, and it all starts again.
Yeah, my big tip out there was, if you want to be featured in a magazine, go the last week of the month and give it to a writer practically pre-written, and you'll be covered in no time, right?
That's so clever, because the deadline's there. So what happened? I said the podcast came about by accident. So basically, getting a whole lot of articles from a whole lot of people all around the world and it was a freaking nightmare, and it wasn't producing the results. So then I thought, well, I wonder what would happen if I started a podcast. And this is way back when podcasts had kind of almost died out. We're talking maybe
they had that little dip there. Yeah.
They went boom, and all of a sudden didn't hear anything, and people went broke or trying to make money out of podcasts. And now last few years, a massive resurgence for all the right reasons. So anyhow, way back then I thought, well, what if I actually interviewed someone? So I started a podcast, and hey, all the authors of these articles turned up on time. And then it evolved from there. And I figured out, well, all these people are coming on the podcast because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to get their message out. They could make good JV partners. So then I started exploring that, and we developed what I called the bridging question, which was, we finished the interview, the same meeting, we'd say, hey, I wonder if you want to have a conversation about how we could grow each other's email list. And they'd go, yeah.
That's everybody's problem. So yes.
Well, because what good marketing does is it puts an offer in front of someone who's already looking for that offer, right?
Yeah.
So but the problem is, if you emailed them and said, hey, do you want to have a conversation about growing each other's email list? They go, Tom, who? I didn't know you. I get spammer, get away. But by getting them on the show, and then the next stage was carefully pre-selecting them, And then the next stage was the algorithm. So it's evolved over quite a few years. So now we've got this really nice streamlined system that where I don't initiate. And that's the other key for dogs, is don't initiate anything that requires data mining or detail or appointment setting, because you should be barking, not meowing. So go to upwork.com, which is to me the best platform for finding freelancers, because they have all these things called filters, and you can just find the cream de la cream at the best price. Give them look after them, give them a decent monthly bonus. And you get someone to give them a checklist for who you're looking for of a guest. We have the whole algorithm thing, but you don't have to start with that. And get them finding the guests and get them reaching out, and just do the interview and then give it to monetize to make money out of it.
We'll figure out the rest. So you've got like 180 episodes, something like that. They're 7 minutes each.
I actually started doing this in 1995.
So you have before, and then you have the current catalog.
Exactly right. This is the third iteration. In 1995, we'd hire a recording studio. We'd walk past the rooms with the rock bands in it, smoking their dope and whatever they were, crack or whatever they're on. And we'd, go into our suit and tie and do this interview with someone, a business leader. So we weren't podcasts back then. They were originally on 8 tracks.
They were.
I'm ashamed to admit that almost. But, and then CDs, and then of course podcasts came along. And one day I remember sitting there thinking, I don't think I need the studio anymore. It was like $500 to hire a studio for 1 hour.
Yeah, you really don't, do you?
but yeah, Marketing the Invisible is the third iteration. Before that, we had a business owner's marketing brief, or the bomb. So we used to send out thousands of emails around, every week saying, here's your bomb, which probably, was not a good look in terms of 9/11 and so on. But before that, it was called Success University. So this is the third iteration, Marketing the Invisible.
Yeah, and I think you've got a very different format. You do your just so you guys all need to subscribe. This is the one thing that I keep telling you every time you're on the show. You listeners out there, you need to subscribe to it, take a listen, get a sense of what's going on, because he's doing something interesting. But then you're also going to go through all his episode lists and go, I need to learn that, I need to learn that, and I can learn that in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that's really fantastic. So you do your intro right with the guest there, and they kind of give you a little bit of feedback. Did I get that right? And then you go straight into your 7 questions, and you tell them the time sometimes when you're on it. So you're like, you have 5 minutes left.
That's right. Before every question, I give them how many minutes we got left. So, question number 3, 4.5 minutes left. And then might be question number 7, last question, 30 seconds left.
And some of them kind of go 10 seconds. I don't know what to say.
And the interview, that's part of the gimmick, I suppose, is that normally there's a countdown timer on the screen underneath the guest, and it's counting down. So you can see, the tension's building. Are they going to make it? But we cut the interview, whether they're in full.
Yeah, you have a big buzzer at the end.
Yeah. And they're still talking. I go, that's it. You're over. So, but to make it easy, because I'm at the core, some people would describe me as lazy, but I don't think it is lazy. I just like efficiency. So we give them the questions when they book. We ask them to nominate a title, and we put how to in front of it. And then at the end, in just 7 minutes, how to generate more leads through Instagram or whatever in just 7 minutes. So that's always the title format. And we ask them to nominate a landing page so we can drive some traffic back to the website, because that's we want to invoke the law of psychological reciprocity, where we do something cool for them, apart from get them on a show, drive some traffic, whatever we can. I always say to them, might only be a few people, might be a couple hundred, I don't know, but we'll do what we can. So that's all set up. So when they come to the interview, they know what the questions are. I know what the title is. I've got their bio. We've got their landing page. It takes like 3 minutes to do a sound check, confirm everything, and then the interview starts. And the interview itself, I start real fast. I say 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to another edition of Marketing Invisible. I'm Tom Poland, and my guest today is Tracy Hazzard. Tracy, g'day. Very warm welcome. Where are you hanging out? So it's really fast, and we don't fluff around with the weather or how was that, how were the Rangers on the weekend? Didn't they suck or whatever? It's just boom, straight into it. So the whole interview, including the intro, is like nine minutes. We're done. And the book for half an hour. So we've got some space left to talk about JVs or cross marketing or whatever.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. And, I think that, just that in and of itself, there's a repetitiveness, and then there's comfort factor, right? And
Okay.
you tread that fine line between it. This is your binge factor, that you don't head into repetitiveness. Sometimes when people do the same questions week after week after week, like I do my 5 things, right? That it can become so repetitive that it becomes boring and uninteresting to the listener. But the time factor that you've created, that intensity of time, that speed round, that kind of that passion that comes across, because I'm like, I'm on the clock, I have to answer this. That's what's treaded it to remove it away from being boring and repetitive. And
Right.
that's your key.
Okay.
That's why it's working. Because I've seen a lot of people do the same questions again and again, but it is your intense scrutiny on that time and that pressure of the time on the guest that is your definite binge factor.
I
And then
think you're on the money, honey. I hadn't realized that, but now that you pointed out, what a
that's
clever
it.
guy I am.
That's right. Well, wow, yay me. So often the binge factor here, someone will go, yeah, I did that on purpose. Sure. Yeah. 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 It's okay if it wasn't carefully constructed, but that's what comes across. And the other thing is that I think, especially in marketing, I say this again and again, marketers have the attention span of a gnat. They
Yeah,
have
so true.
they cannot, they need something short.
So true.
I very often I counsel clients and say, you cannot have a short format, no matter how many people tell you they want you under 10-minute videos. Like, that won't work for your audience, but for your audience, it's perfect.
Right. No.
So, and I half imagine, and you might be horrified at this, but I half imagine there's a very large portion of your audience who's also listening to it on 1.5 to 2 times speed.
Amazing. Really?
You are prime for podfasters.
Right. Podfasters. Oh, that's clever too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
That
so
kind of
that's
makes
really
sense.
Yeah, it does, right?
This is like going to the doctors and seeing an X-ray of your bone
There you go.
and going, "Holy crap, that's inside there, really?" So you're like the radiographer.
There you go. I'm the radiographer of podcasters. There you go. I love it. Well, so you've been podcasting long enough now that some fun things, some interesting things, and maybe some not so fun things have happened to you. You have some funny, interesting stories?
Well, one of the beauties about one of the things about podcasting is I can do it from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, of course. And I'm an introvert, so I mean, I come alive for interviews and talks and things like that. But other than that, I mean, my wife's in Germany for a month right now, right? And she's visiting a sick mum and so on. And I won't answer the phone in case someone calls me and says, "Oh, Tom, you're home alone. Come over for dinner." No, I don't want to do that.
I don't want anybody to invite me.
So what I'm leading up to is that the oops moments, the retake moments, are when the courier knocks on the door with a sledgehammer in the middle of an interview, and
Because you were not expecting anyone.
yeah, my dog is taking exception to that and starts barking and runs out and knocks over the vase with the flowers. So it's like it's gone from this really fast-paced interview, and with 3.5 minutes, and we got 2.5 minutes left, and going, and all mayhem breaks loose in the middle of the interview. That's one of those moments I try and avoid. Scheduling. It's the couriers and with Amazon delivering every other day, and I do all my shopping from home. All my clothes are bought online, and I mean, I don't get out much.
Even the extroverts here, like my daughters say this all the time. Mom, where'd you get that? Well, I'm a busy person. I bought it on Amazon. I had it delivered to us.
Right.
What do you think? Where do you think I got it from? Right.
Yeah,
so it's not an introvert thing. Let me tell you that.
Mom, it's called the internet.
Yeah, right. We use it all the time. So anyway, well, that's good. Those things happen to all of us, right? It doesn't matter how seasoned we are.
Exactly.
You can't control everything.
I mean, these sorts of things have happened so many times. And you know what technology is like, right? So in addition to the fact that I occasionally, if I schedule something for the Monday morning and I never work Sunday morning and I miss a meeting or something stupid like that, but technology sometimes goes AWOL on you, and you can't get upset about it. You can't sort of be so wanting to be perfect that your world comes crashing down around you if you let a guest down. They'll get it. I mean, any experienced guest on a podcast show understands it's not like turning up to the local cafe. There's technology involved. So
yeah, well, everyone here knows my story that I finally get to interview Gary Vee, and I have zero recording from that. Like the technology failed, but it failed so badly that Tom and I turned it into a product. So there has to be something good out of it here. So, but but those things happen to all of us. So I'm so glad you said that, because, you know, even in a recording studio, those things happen. I've hired professionals and they happen.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So have you had I'm going to call it an increase in authority. So, you know, best-selling author, right? We were talking about that before. You get best-selling author. Has there been anything that's sort of that authority raising thing that has come out of your podcast?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't know the answer to it. And I wish I could say yes. You know, I'm now you know, a household name or something, but I don't know. You're probably better qualified to answer that, because I'm the guy on the inside of my brain, and I find it quite hard to look, you know, get that helicopter view.
Yeah. Have you gotten maybe more speaking events and everything? You've been speaking all over the place. So has that
I get the odd invitation, but mostly they want me to fly for 27 hours, and I go, nah. You know,
it's a little too hard. Yeah.
I've done over 500 gigs, and if it's, you know, if someone wants to fly me business class and have someone meet me at the airport, and, you know, then I'd probably go yes. I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, because if it's the right opportunity, I would say yes. But I just don't want to do this whole thing where, you know, I fly to Dallas and it's 27 hours and you get 20 minutes on stage, and, you know, you pay for yourself. So if someone's going to look after me as a speaker, I'll certainly do that. I had an invitation to go and speak at the National Speakers Association in the UK. So I'll probably look at that, because that's a really fun crowd. National speakers.
That sounds fun.
They are all, it's kind of like going to a comedy club, you know, and mixing with the guys and gals that are sick enough to stand behind the microphone and try and get a laugh. You know, NSA is a sort of a cross between that and a dog show. I don't know if you've been to a dog show, but, you know, poodles are all dressed up, and so it's a bit of a fashion event, but they're fun as well. So there's
I love that.
things like that are just kind of interesting. But yeah, like, I mean, you know, we need to have probably someone like you to actually get us heard.
See what else
more,
you could do. Yeah.
because I, you know, it's like number 3 on the list of, I mentioned before, it's the relationship, it's adding value to our subscribers. Number 3 is getting it actually listened to. So
yeah. So, you know, I want to talk a little bit about that, because you're an expert in this. So you called, as I was, you know, skimming your book, I didn't have enough time. I just got it this weekend, so I haven't had time to read it all the way. I do like to read the books that arrive on our doorstep, but I was skimming some of it and taking a look at some things. And you have this sort of analysis of our audiences here, and whether it's your email list or your audience in general, that you have 3% of people are seekers. They're out there they're looking for something, they're ready to jump, they take action quickly. And I agree with you. I love to have like that point, and I usually put it right up at the top of the landing page. It says like, you know, if you just want this done for you, click here. Like, you know, like
that's the seekers.
Give them the way out, right? Give them the way right out. And I like to put a place in for that, because they're not going to read the whole thing. Then you have explorers, and I forgot what the third one was called. Wanderers. Yes, there you go. And so you have that kind of model of it. Are we seeing a shift though in that sort of you had 3%, 12%, and then the remaining 85%. So are you starting to see a shift happen? Are we getting, because email marketing and a lot of these marketing meetings are getting so noisy? Like, are we starting to see a degradation in that sort of percentage?
I'm not sure about the percentages, but what's working for one of those segments, the seekers, and you absolutely hit the nail on the head. You know, these way back when, I mean, 35 years ago, when I did direct marketing, you know, we would send out 10,000 letters, long form letters, like 12 pages long, because we were sending them out to people that we did not know from Adam. And we had to convince them that coming to this seminar or this workshop was a great idea, even though they were never thinking about it. They hadn't heard of us. So the long form sales copy worked really well for wanderers, and it worked really well for explorers. And it didn't work also for seekers, because they're not going to read 23 pages. So, but it worked really well. And then what happened is people go, why have you got, like, on your website, about your program, it's got like 25 pages, 25 screens. Who wants that? Well, actually, the explorers want it. They want to dive deep and have a read. But you got to cater for the seekers who just want to, how the frickin' heck do I buy? You know, how do I sign up? How do I join? So having that at the top of the page, like you've got it, that's for the seekers. That's for the 3%. So what the seekers will tolerate has diminished rapidly over the years. So you know, with our JV program, if I'm going to reach out to a JV partner, they're not going to get more than like a very short benefit-rich subject line and maybe 2 very short sentences.
Yeah.
with an explicit call to action.
Yeah.
So, and when we send out even our email list, there's 22,000 subscribers as time of recording this, we're going to have in the subject line, there's one of three in some curly brackets, so it gets their attention. It's either webinar, because we're promoting someone's webinar, or it's give, because we're promoting someone's landing page. And what's the other one? MTI, the interview, it's a podcast. A 7-minute interview. So they know immediately what format it is. Is it a giveaway? Is it a webinar? Or is it a podcast? And then there's a benefit after that. Because when you talk about how things have changed, in the old days, curiosity used to drag people in. You'd have does this apply to you, ? And you'd go, oh, I wonder if this applies to me. I have a read of the email. And then you end up, 3 pages later, you figure out what it's all about. People don't do that anymore. They go subject line, delete, subject line, delete, subject line, delete. They're not even reading the body of the text. We know from our open rates, they've gone from 25% down to 23%, down to 19%, down to 14%. So the open rates are falling. We know from webinars, we used to have, well, ours is still at 41%, but because we do some tricky things. But we started at 40% attendance rates, and even live events used to be 67% attendance rates. Even when people paid for it, only 2/3 would show up. Webinars 40%, and then 25%, and then 12%, and then 8%. Just horrendous. And
we had one like that where I give the same talk all the time on stages, and usually it overruns the room. Like they'll plan on a breakout room and it'll be standing room only. So like I know that this talk converts, and I know that it like gets people. And we did that. We ran a webinar, and the show up rate was so dismal, and I was like, what the heck happened here? Like, 100 people signed up, and then, practically nobody showed. Like, what's going on?
So with the trick with webinars, you've got to be explicit and take the crap that the odd person dishes out and say, there will be no replay.
Yeah. Forget that.
In caps, like you're shouting it, there will be no replay, live only. And so by doing that, and by finding it 4 p.m. Eastern is the sweet spot, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern is the sweet spot, we get 41% attendance rate.
I love that. See, you just gave us some secrets here. Now, that's the thing is on your show, we don't get a lot of you because you're rapid fire 7 questions. That's about all we get of you. Is there more of you on your website?
Yeah, there's a fair bit more. Leadsology.guru is the main website. I don't know, where do you, I mean, my bio's there, but
No. I just mean like, look, you've got some hard, interesting data, hard-won information, things that failed.
Right.
Where do we access you for that? Like, do you have that?
The really best source of the skinny and all this and all the tips and how, to use JVs and webinars and everything else is inbound marketing. So if people go to Amazon, go to books, and then search for inbound marketing.
That's this one right here.
My bright yellow book. We're thinking of doing that with a free pair of sunglasses, maybe, like nuclear yellow. So that is really, and it's like, we're going to keep it the Kindle version at like $1 while we're doing our launch. So for the next month or so, it'll be $1, and then the paperback will go to $12, and the Kindle will go to $12 because we'd rather people buy the paperback. Then it sits around, on their desk, and it's bright yellow.
And it reminds them to read it. Yes, exactly. So I know this one jumped to the top of my pile, not just because you just sent it to me, but because it's so bright. So there was some smart moves there as well. But see, that's great. So you do have a way for people to get, to access some of your thoughts. So, because that's what we find with podcasting is that audiences want more of you, the host.
Right.
And you don't give a lot of that because you've got your really short segments. So somewhere else we want to get that. So
the other place if they want to have a conversation, 15 minutes, but let's talk and see if I've got something they want. There's ineedinbound.com. They can go to ineedinbound.com. So we give people different resources, and we can satisfy the seekers and the explorers and the wanderers, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple there. There's the website, there's the book, there's the consult.
So I take it you've tried a lot of things over the years, and you'd mentioned that you tried a bunch that failed, right?
Yeah.
And we all do. On Monday nights, Juliet Clark and I, who's another podcast host, we dish about what's not working in marketing. Usually it's what's not working.
Right.
And so we talk about stuff that we've tried, stuff that our clients have tried, and we dish about some of the stuff that you guys are doing. Like, you guys are wasting your time on, like, we've got an episode coming up on chatbots. And because we're watching it go
Interesting.
horrendously bad right now, right? Like
Right.
I'm sure we're all cringing on the other end. And you have your, you even mentioned it in here that you've got like the 2 simple LinkedIn things that you could do, like the 2 messages.
Right.
And that's way simple compared to the chatbot. Like I'm serious that one of our clients has done like 100 messages. Like it's all programmed. Like it's crazy. And so the episode's going to be called Bots Gone Wild, because that's really what it is here. But you've probably got lots of these things as well. And, you mentioned 5-day challenges and some of these other things. Are
Right.
there other things besides the show up rate in webinars that's like not doing well right now? That's really just, you're starting to
Well,
see failure happen.
Chapter 2 of my book, Inbound Marketing book, lists 16 marketing methods you may have tried and why they haven't worked.
There you
But
go.
mostly they don't work because I'll tell you why 97% of marketing methods fail. My estimation, after 39 years of being a sales and marketing expert and trying lots of things that don't work, my conclusion is 97% of marketing efforts fail for one simple reason, which is people don't want to do it.
They don't want to do the hard work.
No, it's like a dog trying to meow. Well, it's not the hard work.
Oh, you're talking about the person on the other end doesn't want it.
Well, no, I'm talking about the marketer. So here's what happens. Typical scenario. Someone goes to a one-day seminar on Facebook advertising and funnels. And they go, holy cow, this would be a dream. I set these funnels up and I can just lie on the beach and let all the money wash over my beautiful body. What's not to love about that? It's like the holy grail of marketing is I don't do anything and I get clients coming in. Wow. So they come back, but they've heard about tripwires and segmentation and autoresponders and split testing and colors and titles. And they wake up the next morning and they go, yeah, I should really do those funnel things. I should do that. And the moment you hear yourself going, I should, you are going to fail. Because one of 3 things is going to happen. You're going to start it and stop it because you don't really want to do it. And it hurts your head because you're a dog and you're not a cat. If you're a cat, you should do funnels, by the way. But most of the people teaching funnels, this applies almost universally. People who are really successful at funnels that are telling you should do funnels, they have like 12 PhDs, people locked in a room figuring all this stuff out for them every single freaking day. And they're spending like 60 grand a month on this. I know because I'm in the mastermind group with some of them. So little old me sitting here on Castaways Beach going to do funnels. I don't think so. So you start it and you stop it, or you'll start it and you do it inconsistently and only when the money runs out, or you'll never start it at all. Those are the 3 scenarios that come out of I should versus I want. Now, if there's a marketing myth like podcasts, I want to do podcasts. So guess what? I do them.
That's right. You show up.
And whatever you do regularly enough, you get pretty good at.
Yeah.
But the starter fluid, the ignition is I want to do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
such wise words, Tom. I can't even tell you.
Other than that, most marketing methods fail because they're too expensive, they're too complicated, or they're ineffective.
Yeah.
And there's
so
16 of them in chapter 2.
That's right. And so I can't wait to read it. And I will be one who reads it. So, you're so pointing out though, that's exactly how I ended up in podcasting business and out of the design business. Right. I wanted to do it. We wanted to do it. Right. And because we're detail people and because Tom balances me out. My Tom balances me out. Yeah, you've met my Tom. So he's definitely a cat, right? And he's got all those things, right? The systems fell into place and all of those things happened for us. And so then other people were like, can you just do this for me?
Yeah.
Like, that's literally how it happened. And, and it eclipsed our regular business to the point of like, why are we still doing this design business? Yeah.
Well, you two make a great team because you got a dog and a cat, and that's always the best. Right. I mean, I surround myself with cats.
And we have a 55 cat team, thank goodness,
Wow.
Yeah. So thank goodness we've got a big team like that.
So
that's what we do. We have lots of kittens, and we have our office puppy on top of it all, who manages to interrupt our recordings now and again. So, but Tom, any last parting words for someone who's on that fence of they want to start a podcast, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet?
Jesus, what can I say? Okay, go to Upwork. First of all, do a checklist of who you're looking for in a guest. Yeah. Second thing, get Calendly, Timetable, whatever, find a booking link and set that up. Number 3, go to Upwork, find a Filipino contractor to take the checklist and use the link and reach out and book some guests. Then you're committed.
Then you have to do it. You have to show
up. You have
up.
to do it. You've got guests booked. And never confuse, there's an old saying in marketing, in consultancy, never confuse promise with delivery. Mm-hmm. So get committed. It's the same if you're going to do a webinar, build a program. I mean, the number of people that sit around on their ass, pardon me, for years going, I've got to build a program. Look, sell the freaking thing and then build it. Okay.
That's right.
I mean, if nothing else, there's no point in building it and then figuring out no one wants to buy it. So sell it, get some cash in, and then build the thing. Have a start date of, say, the 1st of next month or whatever it is. So that's what I'd say is get yourself thoroughly committed, and go through the pain and the stress of whatever you have to go through mentally, the fear of failure and everything else, which we all go through, and just freaking do it. But get yourself committed, because then it will happen. When you've got guests booked in, it will happen.
I love that. Well, thank you, Tom. So glad you came on the show. So glad we got to talk about marketing the invisible and your unusual binge factor of 7 questions in 7 minutes.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. Thanks for making it fun.
So I told you, everyone, this was going to be an exciting episode. I mean, thinking about doing something short form, tight, intense, creating a binge factor that way, the way Tom Poland has here, that's an incredible model to follow if it's the right audience for you. And Tom clearly knows his audience. And that's what I really want to point out here. Tom Poland is an absolute expert at understanding his audience and understanding the psychological mindset behind them and what drives them to buy, to consume, to convert, right? All of those things matter in the process, and he's got that dialed in. That's why he's an inbound marketing expert. That's why he's an expert on generating leads. And that's why he's utilized his podcast in a very, very different way to make it lead generating for him. And remember, he's not really generating those leads from listeners as much as he is from his guests. A very different model of alternative monetization, but one that is going to be so valuable to many, many of you out there, because less than 2% of podcasts make money off of their podcast itself from that sort of listener and advertising sponsorship side. So keep in mind, the 98% of you out there, Tom's found a great model that really works for him and works for his business, and he wants to do it, as he pointed out. So take a good listen to Marketing the Invisible with Tom Poland. Subscribe, listen. There's tons of episodes on there that are going to help you figure out how to market your show, because there's lots of great nuggets in those 7 minutes every single week. So take a listen to that one as well. And if you would like to be featured on the show, don't forget, you got to reach out at thebingefactor.com and fill out our form and see if you qualify as a guest. I also am always looking for suggestions. So if you have great podcasters you listen to, suggest them up, and you can email us there as well. And you can find us everywhere on social media at Feed Your Brand. We're still at the Feed Your Brand because we're a part of Feed Your Brand. You can also find us at monetize.com. So anywhere you want to search for us, you'll be able to find us. But this blog post for this episode will be at thebingefactor.com. I'll be back next week with another podcaster and another great model for you to format as well. Take care.
You've been listening to the Binge Factor podcast. For more information on podcasting and videocasting success tips and tactics, please go to thebingefactor.com. And be sure to listen to our other show for podcasters called Feed Your Brand. If you'd like to be interviewed on this show, as well as featured in Tracy's column, please go to thebingefactor.com/guest and apply.